Yo, what's going on, everybody? So, today I wanted to hop on here and tell you a few stories. Back in my day, in my early 20s, I used to basically live in the bars. So, I figured I'd hop on here and tell you guys about some of the, honestly, pretty traumatic shit I have seen, and also some pretty funny things as well from my years when I was drinking pretty heavily. So there was this one night I was outside with a few people, like having smokes outside this bar we frequented all the time. It was called Warehouse. And there used to be this homeless guy who was always posted up out front. I guess he would chill there because people would, it was an endless stream of people giving him cigarettes and like loose change. So we're standing out there. This homeless guy's in his wheelchair with a blanket over his lap, like always. He had no feet, right? He just had stubs for legs. He was a pretty rough looking dude. And then this group of like guys comes pouring out of the bar. They were absolutely hammered. They were being super loud, just like making a scene right at the entrance. So the bouncers are getting super irritated. And eventually one of them grabs like the loudest guy by his shirt and basically gives him like a light shove backwards, basically being like, all right, that's your warning, time to go. But dude is so drunk, he can't catch himself from the few steps he had to take, and his foot goes over the curb, and he just eats shit like so hard. And as he's falling, his arms are flailing around. He's trying to grab onto anything like desperately. And just by complete chance, he snags this homeless guy's blanket and rips it down. Now, underneath this blanket, unbeknownst to anyone there, was a fucking catheter bag. So now this drunk guy is sprawled out half on the sidewalk, half on the street, and beside his head is this homeless guy's catheter bag that just got yanked loose. It's hanging there like leaking, dripping on him, and this disgusting blanket is like covering the guy's face and hair. The homeless guy is screaming. And we all think it's because he's pissed off that like the blanket got ripped off and like he's mad his stubs got exposed. But then everyone is realizing like what actually happened. This dude's catheter cord was just ripped out of his fucking body. And we're all like, oh, fuck. Like, even the bouncers were stunned. The drunk guy starts realizing what happened, and you can just see him realizing it, and the horror hits him. I mean, he was traumatized, dude. He's got like piss in his hair. It was fucking disgusting. An ambulance had to get called and come because, I guess ripping that cord out of that homeless guy's body was like, it's like an emergency. That can do some serious damage. So I've never seen a rowdy group of drunk dudes be sobered up so fast in my life. Honestly, if that had happened to me, I think that would have been probably the end of my drinking career right then and there. I probably would have, gone to church the next day. Anyways, this next one is from a bar, the sort of bar that a gentleman would attend, a strip club. So me and my friend were at this house party, well, kind of party, but there's just a few of us drinking there. It's not very many of us, maybe like 10 people. And the plan was to go out to the bars. But when we were gearing up to like head out, they hit us with the news that, we were going to a fucking board game bar to listen to like lo-fi and drink IPAs, which obviously was not the move. That's never the move. So I whip out my phone and realize I'm like, we're 10 minutes away from this strip club that I had gone to a bunch. It was called the Newton. If anybody listening to this is from Ottawa, you would know it. So I show my friend, I'm like, dude, it's only a $12 Uber to the Newton. And he's immediately game. So we're like, fuck the board games. Adios, we're out of here. We're going to go see some titties. And we Uber, we pull up to this place. The parking lot, it's in like a greasy kind of industrial area. And there's a sign outside the entrance that usually says what's going on, what events they're having and stuff. And we had no idea. But as we're walking in, we see the sign and it says, The Newton presents Midget Night. Main event, the Mighty Dwarf Toss. And me and my boy were like, what the fuck is this? Even the bouncer was laughing because he could see like the realization on our faces. And well, it turns out it's exactly what you think it is. It's a lot of dwarf women strippers and them being flung around. Not to mention, they had this one lady in there that was even shorter than 3 feet. She was like 2'9" or something. And like they kept announcing that like it was some feat. They're like, the smallest stripper in the world, give it up for, and I don't even remember her name. It It was crazy. And if you don't believe me, you can look this up. Just literally Google world's smallest stripper, Ottawa, Newton, and you will see, they pulled up like 9 years ago. And I'll be honest, this place, it was creepy as fuck. I was not about it. I'm game with, some freaky ass shit, but this ain't it. The way these grown dudes were like cradling her and just kind of throwing her around, it was so weird. And thankfully there was still some regular sized, plus sized women working, so I spent the entire night in the back rooms with them. But it was weird because every once in a while, I would forget what was happening, and I would come like walking out of the back rooms, and a fucking naked dwarf would just like run by you giggling, and you're like, holy fuck, what the fuck? Needless to say, we started checking the events out before just pulling up at random. Now, this third story is back just at a normal bar, back at Warehouse, the one I always went to. They used to have this special. It was a tall boy PBR and a shot of Jameson for like $5. So anytime I was there, I was just hammering that deal all night. Even just saying it makes my stomach turn. The smell of whiskey or Jameson will just like instantly bring me back to 2017. So me and my friend, we go there, we're getting hammered off this deal, and we do what we thought at the time was, picking up chicks. But we always failed miserably. It's like well documented on this channel that when I would get drunk at bars, I had no game. So me and my buddy are sitting at this bar just drinking by ourselves, and these two girls, both very attractive, come and sit right beside us. And I'm looking at them like, yo, if there's ever been a sign, this is it. The girl that sits next to my friend was like crazy hot, and she immediately started talking to him. Like she initiated the conversation. And me and him, like I said, never had, well, really any success in situations like this. So I could see the look of pure shock on his face. So he just starts ordering a bunch of shots for them. They're smashing them back, getting like really close. I mean, this girl was like resting her hand on his leg, getting really touchy, talking to him, all within like 5 minutes of meeting him. Meanwhile, I'm like, damn, all right. So I'm trying to talk to the other girl, her friend, but she was clearly just like not interested at all. She's given me the coldest shoulder you've ever seen. It would be a miracle if I could even get a one-word answer out of this bitch. So I tried for a bit longer, but the girl was way more preoccupied in getting her friend to chill out. Like, I don't know why, but she was very opposed to her friend being intimate with my boy. So I give up on talking to her. I'm like, fuck it. I clock back in. I start drinking pretty heavy. My buddy and this girl are now making out beside me very aggressively. Like, I was happy for him. She was hot, but it was a bit cringe. The bartender was telling them to chill out, being like, yo, this is too much. Get out of here. People around us are starting to give them like dirty looks. I mean, they're making out so aggressively that I can literally hear it over the music. Now, eventually, this girl, she actually climbs into my friend's lap, and she had her back against the bar, like dry humping his legs excessively while making out. And there was so much tongue action, too much. Even now, I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is a lot. People around us are disgusted. The bartenders are losing their minds. I'm starting to get yelled at just for knowing them. So the disinterested friend, by the way, is now leaving. This is too much for her. She's yelling at her friend, being like, why do you always do this? We were supposed to have a girls' night. I just wanted to fucking hang out. Like, she spent a good amount of time just screaming at her friend, and her friend didn't even bat an eye. She was too focused. So that girl dips, and to be fair to her, it was a scene. I mean, basically the entire front of this bar now is tuned into the fact that my boy and this girl were as close as you possibly could be to having sex fully clothed. It was wild. I'm leaning in being like, yo, dude, this is dope and I'm very proud of you, but this is a lot. People are not happy. But, I have no choice. I need to back up my boy. So I'm starting to try and help him out, telling everyone, the bartender, I'm like, relax. It's no big deal. Look how hot she is. Don't fuck this up for him. And the girl and my buddy, they're in their own world. I'm pretty sure she was rolling or something. Just, I've never seen someone more touchy, and she was just like caressing his face over and over in his hair, right? And eventually this dude comes over, just like a random guy, and he taps my friend on the shoulder, but my friend just ignores him or doesn't even register it. And the guy's like, if you two don't stop this, we're going to have a problem. This is disgusting. So I spin around because the bar stools, they can spin. Like I could sit there if I wanted and spin 360 over and over. So full of liquid courage, I spin 180 around from the bar to face him and be like, bro, fuck off. This doesn't concern you. And then I spin myself back towards the bar thinking like, put that guy in his place. But suddenly I feel his hand on my left shoulder pulling me. So instead of stopping when I spun myself back towards the bar, I just kept spinning right past it, all the way back around until I was face to face with him again. And I mean, I've never been made to feel like such a beta. In the course of like a 2 second spin, I went from like, dominated that guy to like, oh, hey, you're still here? And he just pulls me off the stool. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Well, it turns out that guy was an off duty bouncer who stayed late to drink. And, I just got absolutely manhandled, thrown out of the bar. I basically land on the sidewalk. And once I start getting my bearings, I just see my buddy getting carried out under the guy's arm, yelling back at the girl, like, let me get your number. Remember me. And honestly, he probably could have brought her home if he hadn't made such a disgusting scene and completely fucked himself. I mean, it was his fault. So we ended up just having a smoke and debriefing outside. And now this last one, it's probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen at a bar. If I had any brains, I probably should have left. But, of course, my dumb ass thought it was cool as fuck and I stuck around. So back in Ottawa, there was a pretty decent biker gang presence. You had the Hells Angels and then a bunch of other biker guys from like Quebec to whatever they were called, like the Outlaws or the Loners or something stupid. But anyways, in summer 2016, there was this big Hells Angels Canada run happening, and they passed through Ottawa. They basically took over this whole downtown strip of bars for a day, and one of those bars was Warehouse, the bar I was always at. So when they took over these bars, obviously that gets attention from the cops, but it also gets attention of rival biker gangs. And that's exactly what happened. Like a bunch of these Quebec biker dudes showed up as well. There wasn't a fight or anything like brawls. They just all kind of drank separately and posted up. It kind of felt like the same vibe as a boys and girls dance in like elementary school when you're on either sides of the gym. But they were all just posted up, chilling, trying to show dominance. And by this point, that whole stretch of road and a bunch of bars were completely taken over. So the Ottawa gang, like the anti-gang task force, they show up. So now the whole scene is chaos. Cops everywhere, biker gangs everywhere, tension. But still, nobody's actually making any moves. Everybody's just kind of waiting. And somehow all these bars, they decide, they're not going to shut down. I guess business was just too good. These biker guys were drinking heavy. So me and my boys pull up. We don't know this is going on. Obviously, we become aware of it as we show up. And we're like, well, we have to go in Warehouse and drink and see how this plays out. Like, it was very unique, right? So we're heading in. The cops, the anti-gang task force are like trying to stop us, and they're like telling us like, don't go in there. Are you fucking idiots? Like, look at the vibe. And obviously we ignore that. So we get in and we somehow get the best possible table in the place. It was this patio table overlooking the street. We're just sitting there day drinking while this like completely insane scene is unfolding around us. Bikes are constantly pulling up. It's loud as fuck. Dudes are just like ripping burnouts. Every few minutes a diesel truck would roll up with like a bunch of guys packed inside it, and they would all go into the bars. And eventually I needed at one point to go across the bar to buy either more drinks or piss or something. But there was like no chance I was just going to shove my way through this crowd of biker guys. Like, I'm just trying to like politely squeeze my way through this wall of leather vests. I'm just like, oh, pardon me, excuse me, how are you doing? And I just feel like I'm at like waist height with all of these guys. And a couple of cops noticed me. And I don't know if they were like actually trying to help me because they thought I was stuck or something, or if they were just pissed off that they had no control of the situation and were picking me as an easy target. But suddenly they just grab me and start dragging me through the crowd. they're like, "What are you doing here? Like, we told you not to come in here. It's time to get out." And they're basically like hauling me towards the exit. And I'm kind of like digging in my heels, being like, "Yo, what the fuck? Like, I don't want to leave. I just want to go get a drink or whatever. You can't just throw me out." And then out of nowhere, from behind me, one of the biker dudes grabs my collar at the back and he goes, "He doesn't want to go," and yanks me backwards towards them. And now I'm basically getting like ragdolled back and forth between the cops and these biker guys. It was like a tug of war. And finally, the cops let go. And, I fly towards this group of bikers. And I'm standing at this table awkwardly as like this like stare off happens. And eventually they hand me a beer. They just had cases on the table. I guess the bar gave up on serving these dudes individually. So they hand me a beer and I'm standing there with them. And I'm like, yeah, no big deal. I'm just kind of with them now. And I tried to engage them in conversation, and they basically immediately told me to fuck off. So, that fantasy died pretty quick. But after that, for the rest of the night, I mean, me and all my boys just kept taking beers out of the cases that they were putting out. I'm guessing the bikers were buying them, and nobody noticed we were just like snagging them. So, I mean, by the time we left there, we were all so fucked up, and we basically drank completely for free. So, as far as I know, nothing violent ended up happening, but the cops stayed there the entire time. It was weird. You're just drinking in a bar, and it's just like, it was very tense, but I mean, free beer. So, anyways, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Peace.